Hello there, I'm Nafisa Latic. Great to have your company. Bosnian police have detained a Russian man suspected of training Moldova's pro-Russia activists who were reportedly plotting to destabilize last month's elections in Moldova. In October, and ahead of the referendum on its EU future, Moldova's officials claimed that the training camps run by Russia were present in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia. Its leadership is known for its close ties with Moscow. This week, we will look into what's behind Moldova's claims and its reaction in Bosnia. But first, this report from Zeynep Gizem Kacar.
Bosnia and Herzegovina authorities say they will expel a Russian man who was arrested on suspicion of instructing Moldovans on how to foment unrest in their country. Alexander Bezrukovny is accused of training pro-Russian activists at a camp near Banja Luka in Bosnia's Serb entity, Republika Srpska. Moldovan officials said the intention was to disrupt Moldova's presidential election and the referendum on the country's commitment to EU integration in October. Reactions in Bosnia were mixed. Security Minister Nenad Nesic denied the allegations, but Foreign Minister Almedin Konakovic confirmed the Russian-led training and promised an investigation.
It is true. We had people who came on behalf of and at the expense of the Russian Federation and trained members of the Moldovan teams. I don't have exact evidence or examples that it was some kind of military training, but it was certainly some kind of training that involved the organization of some protests or going out onto the street. I personally saw that such groups were operating in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
The arrested Russian has reportedly been under surveillance by Bosnian security and intelligence services for some time. Moldova's intelligence officials say Bezrukovny is just the tip of the iceberg. Security officials uncovered a larger network involving Moldovans being trained in Russia, Bosnia, and Serbia by Russian operatives.
În mod regulat, pe teritoriul Federației Ruse mergeau echipe restrânse a câte 20 de persoane. În număr total documentate de organele de drept și de forță la ziua de astăzi, ajungând peste 300 de persoane care au mers pentru instruiri în Federația Rusă.
All this came at a time when President Maia Sandu won a second term in a closely watched contest. Sandu, a strong advocate for Moldova's integration into the European Union, faced challenges from candidates aligned with pro-Russian interests. The referendum showed broad support for joining the EU, reflecting Moldova's Euro-Atlantic aspirations, especially with rising tensions with Russia. The Moldovan president also accused Moscow of using hybrid tactics to influence the country's political landscape, particularly targeting the youth and pro-EU movements. One such instance involved Moldova's fugitive tycoon Ilan Shor. He was accused of transferring the Russian equivalent of $39 million into the bank accounts of thousands of Moldovans to influence the election.
The Moldovan people chose a future in the European Union. I am proud of every single Moldovan who stood up for democracy. Our people have shown incredible resilience in the face of immense challenges, foreign interference, both buying schemes implemented by fugitive oligarchs with Russian money and attempts to destabilize the country.
These developments heighten concerns about Russian influence in Eastern Europe, especially given Moscow's interference in neighboring Ukraine and Georgia. Experts warn that Moldova's strategic position between the European Union and Russia makes it a target for geopolitical maneuvering.
It's a lesson to be learned by many people, by other democracies, to see how it is possible to defend the democratic process against this malign foreign interference. On the other hand, we need to acknowledge that Moldovan democracy remains very vulnerable to all these malign influences.
As the investigation into training camps unfolds, questions remain about the scope of the foreign involvement in the region's politics. Ahead of the elections in Moldova, the Kremlin denied the allegations of interference by Moldovan authorities.
We categorically reject these accusations. We do not interfere in other people's internal affairs.
But the arrest of this Russian is a stark reminder of Moscow's ongoing battle for influence in Eastern Europe. Zeynep Gizem Kacar, Across the Balkans.
A lot to discuss there, so let's go to our panel now. Joining me now is Vitaly Marinuta. He is a security and defense consultant who formerly served as defense minister of the Republic of Moldova, and Irvin Pekmez, a journalist at Detector, the media outlet of the Balkan Investigative Reporting Network. Pleasure to have you both on Across the Balkans. Irvin, let me start with you. What more can you tell us about the arrests made by Bosnian officials, and what information is available to the public?
Information about that arrest that happened in the most west part of the country has to do with a Russian citizen that allegedly had no official documents with him besides a Spanish passport, I think, and that he is in one way or another connected to the story about Russian camps or so-called camps within close proximity of city of Banja Luka, where Russian citizens trained Moldovan citizens allegedly for contributing in maleficent things that would happen in the area of time with elections in Moldova. Mm-hmm. So this person was found without official documents and is set to be expelled from Bosnia and Herzegovina in accordance to Bosnia and Herzegovina laws. With that said, the prosecutor of Bosnia and Herzegovina has claimed new information about the story of camps near Banja Luka, and it's we are waiting for any sort of response from a prosecutor's office, state prosecutor's office. So at this time, person may be expelled or maybe in the waiting room, as they say, but he will be in any case expelled from Bosnia and sent to Russian Federation or third country.
And Irvin, before going to Vitaly, Bosnian officials reacted in a different way to the claims coming from Moldova's officials. So Minister of Security denied the allegations about the camps. Minister of Foreign Affairs said he has knowledge about these camps. So, I mean, what else you can tell us about this? As this is not something that media reported. This is coming directly from Moldova's police and the security officials.
Yes, reactions was various from the various points of view in Bosnia. If we take a look at reactions from state officials from Republika Srpska or state level that come from Republika Srpska, they are always aligned with Russian foreign affairs and they have a Russian policy in mind. So Dodik claimed that those allegations made from Moldova are false. And he even went as further to say that America's government is actually behind that information from Moldovan police. Minister of Security Nešić also claimed that there is no information about the camps, and if there were information, that he would act on it. I would like to say that what I observed is that the semantics played a very big role here, because later the state agency for information, OSA, claimed that they have information about Russian citizens and other foreign citizens being in proximity of city of Banja Luka in the time when Moldovan police claimed that there were trained Russian citizens in Bosnia. But they did not say that they were in camps, but they said that they were in some sort of objects, maybe apartment or house. So in this point, it's not that important to know were there actually camps with tents on open field underneath the sky, or it was a school for making trouble within some sort of building.
Okay, Vitaly, Moldova's security officials quite firmly claimed that these camps exist. They're talking about 300 people coming to Bosnia, Serbia, and Russia. What else we know from Moldova's officials about these, how they call them, destabilization camps?
You know, since this summer, Russian Federation started more to be involved in the process of our elections. On the 20th of October, we had our presidential elections, and also we held the referendum for the European integration. One of the main points of the policy of the Russian Federation toward Moldova is to keep it as close as it possible to its policies, and we are moving toward European integration. So they are using fraud, electoral fraud. They are using the possibility to buy the electorate, and also they are using the tool to prepare unrest here in Moldova. And the police on the 17th of October made a briefing where they actually disclosed using also some video format and some tools which they took them when arrested 4 of those people. So the allegations are that more than 300 people were trained in the Russian Federation, Bosnia and Republika Srpska, and we see that now we have confirmations also from this part.
And they also said, the police said that these trips have been paid by a fugitive, Ilan Shor. What do we know about him?
Well, now the police came with more information that yes, about $100 million were spent by Russian Federation through this fugitive Ilan Shor, through some of the parties which they formed here in Moldova, in order to pay those people, young people, 20 to 40 years old, male and female, that were brought especially to Russian Federation. Also, all this money through the fugitive oligarch Shor, well, also spent to bring people to vote.
Let me go to Irvin now. Irvin, if the investigation proves that these camps exist on the territory of Republika Srpska, what does this tell us about its leadership's ties with Moscow?
The officials in Bosnia and Herzegovina have not yet officially, at least, talked to the public and told us that there are evidence of existing camps. There are clues that some sort of organization with a lot of foreign citizens happened, but we don't know the details yet. Why we don't know the details is precisely your second part of the question, is that it has been on the territory of Republika Srpska, and Republika Srpska is very, very aligned with Russian foreign policy towards the Western Balkans. Milorad Dodik, the president of Republika Srpska, the Serb majority entity in Bosnia and Herzegovina, is the politician of is the European politician with the most numerous meetings with Vladimir Putin since the beginning of invasion on Ukraine, and he's every political party that is being aligned with his political party is essentially pro-Russian oriented. But they claim that they are neutral in this war. The politics of Republika Srpska is often parallel to the politics of Russian Federation, and they often go hand in hand with the subject of secession of Republika Srpska from Bosnia and Herzegovina, with the false information about camps of Islam.
Vitaly, let me go to you. And having in mind all these things that Irvin said, how difficult will be for Moldovan officials to cooperate with Bosnian officials if half of them have close ties with Moscow?
I think it's important for Moldova and the Bosnian officials to get to the roots of this problem and to work together in order to prevent for the future escalation of this situation, one thing. And second, now Russia is implementing its policy of meddling into the electoral process, into economical development, political, democratical development of any country in the European continent. So the problem that we do have here in Moldova, it can easily spread also in Bosnia and other countries. We see the results that are of the elections in Romania, which nobody expected. So now it's in the interest of the Republic of Moldova and Bosnia and Herzegovina to cooperate and to get to the roots of the problem.
Vitaly Marinuta, Irvin Pekmez, thank you both for being our guests on Across the Balkans. As joining the EU remains the main strategic goal for Balkan countries that are still not members of the bloc, we want to look at the progress they made in 2024. The enlargement has once again been put into the spotlight since Russia's attack on Ukraine. Brussels says it's open to speeding up the process as it believes the security of the Balkans had been threatened by Moscow and its allies in the region. As Adam Amunu reports, it remains to be seen if Marta Kos, a Slovenian diplomat and an EU commissioner designate for enlargement, can make a difference.
After Slovenia made history when it held its first one-month rotating presidency of the UN Security Council in September, the country is now cementing its influence within the European Union. Marta Kos, the EU's new enlargement commissioner, is a seasoned diplomat. She is set to tackle one of the EU's most challenging and strategic roles, as Albania, Moldova and Ukraine strive to move closer to gaining EU membership. It could be the momentum the Balkans needs to fast-track long-standing accession processes. But at the European Parliament, Kos said she intends to oversee a merit-based process.
For the first time after 10 years, there is a good chance that we will bring one or two countries at the end of the negotiating process. Still, the actions have to follow.
The current Commissioner, Oliver Verhelyen, presented his last annual enlargement report on the progress of 10 candidates and potential candidates to the Committee on Foreign Affairs of the European Parliament. He said it's not a matter of if, but when the EU approves new members. As we approach the end of the year, where do Balkan countries stand on EU accession talks? Firstly, Bulgaria, Croatia, Greece, Romania and Slovenia are already EU members. Verhelyen said Montenegro and Albania could finish EU accession talks by 2026 and 2027 respectively. Last month, the EU opened its first chapter of negotiations with Albania during a second accession conference between the two in Luxembourg. North Macedonia, the first Balkan country to apply for EU membership in 2004, has faced delays because of a dispute with Bulgaria over language and identity. The report emphasised North Macedonia must make constitutional changes to advance in its EU accession process. The report said Serbia has met benchmarks in terms of economic competitiveness and inclusive growth, but it must focus on the rule of law, improve civil society, and tackle misinformation.
Our goal is to fulfill all the criteria for membership in the European Union by the end of 2026. I'm not saying we will enter, but that we will fulfill all the criteria.
For Bosnia, the EU proposed to open accession negotiations in March, and while it has achieved much in migration management, for instance, further steps are required to align with the Commission's 2022 recommendations. Kosovo submitted its EU membership application at the end of 2022. The report notes that progress has been made in fighting organised crime and bolstering business, but there is a need to strengthen the rule of law and freedom of expression. And lastly, Moldova signed a decree to start EU accession talks in June. President Maia Sandu said she expects her country to become an EU member by 2030. What can also affect the EU's enlargement policy is Ukraine's candidacy status. It is unique in that it is seeking membership while actively engaged in a war. And it is expected that Kos will prioritise this after taking up her new role. She insisted that supporting Ukraine was a moral duty for the EU and pledged that the bloc would be the strongest possible partner and ally to the Ukrainian people. As Ukraine battles for its sovereignty and as Balkan nations edge closer into the EU, all eyes will be on Kos to see if her leadership can navigate the bloc through what could be one of its defining moments. Adam Aminu, across the Balkans.
For decades, the people of the Balkans have been emigrating to the EU as they are not optimistic about the future of the region. At least 600,000 Albanians have managed to get an EU passport in the last 20 years, according to Eurostat. But there are still many of those who live and work there illegally and are hoping their country will join the EU soon so they can get the benefits more easily. Omer Saraci reports from Tirana.
Rimi's journey is unlike many of his peers. His family's livelihood depends on the work he does abroad. Though he respects visa-free state limits, his employment in Germany breaks EU rules. That's why he was afraid to disclose his identity to us.
Kam një familje për ta rujt, kam 2 fëmijë të vegjël, një bab, kam edhe nusa. Dhe kështu që më duhet që të punoj 3 muaj ande, 3 muaj këte.
Si është Gjermania?
Janë shumë gjona, shumë faktorë ndikojnë këtë pjesë, që na bëjnë ne që të shkojmë atje.
Rimi is optimistic about Albania's potential to join the European Union in 2030.
Patjetër që do ketë mundësi më shumë. Se do kthehen edhe ato që janë, është diçka që ne po na intereson që ne të hyjmë në Bashkimin Evropian, që të rrim, punojmë edhe vjetojmë vendin tonë.
To better understand the importance of EU integration for the younger generation, we interviewed students who are graduating in 2030.
Më në fund një dritje shqinë në fund të tuneli.
Mendoj se Shqipëria në vitin 2030, mendoj se do na zhvilloj shumë si shoqëri, si ekonomi.
Shqipëria në vitin 2030 në BE është një mrekulli për shqiptarët. Unë e mirëpres shpresoj që të bëhet, sepse ne mund të përfitojmë gjëra shumë të mira nga BE-ja.
Since 1990, with communism's collapse in Albania, the EU has been viewed by Albanians as a good opportunity for immigration. Eurostat data suggests 604,000 Albanians have been issued passports from a European Union country in the last 20 years. The main reasons for leaving were family reunification, employment opportunities, and pursuing higher quality education. For students like Arvina and Matteo, EU integration means more affordable education.
Mendoj se integrimi në Bashkimin Evropian do të ketë tepër favore pozitive në jetën e një studenti ose një të riu në Shqipëri.
Them se gjithashtu integrimi në Bashkimin Evropian do t'i sjellë Shqipërisë në nivel më të lartë ekonomik dhe një stabilitet më të lartë në jetesën e shqiptarëve. Për mua është e rëndësishme që të them se në momentin që Shqipëria do të integrohet në Bashkimin Evropian, studentët do të mësojnë me tarifa më të ulta.
Në 2030 Shqipëria vend i BE-s, i një tregu shumë të madh. Ku do ta gjej Mateon? Në Shqipëri apo në një shtet tjetër të Bashkimit Evropian?
Nëse Shqipëria i arrin ato standardet të cilat i ka edhe Europa sot apo shtetet e Europës, Mateo nuk do ketë nevojë të ikë në Europë.
Deri më tani mendimi im është që dua të rri në Shqipëri dhe ta vazhdoj karrierën time në Shqipëri, por sigurisht që jam e hapur për mundësi që mund të më ofrojë Bashkimi Evropian.
The Albanian government has committed to founding the expansion of vocational schools to empower young people and equip them with skills for in-demand professions. But is there a risk today that these professionals might be drawn to job markets abroad?
Sfida që ka Shqipëria në procesin e integrimit është largimi. Sfida që ka Shqipëria në ekonomi sot është largimi, sepse 40% e forcës aktive të punës po largohet.
For Yorida Tabaku, chair of the European Integration Committee in the Albanian Parliament, Albania's journey towards EU membership is closely tied to preparing the economy and involving young people in this process.
Arsyeja sepse unë jam dhe kam qenë skeptike për vitin 2030 lidhet jo vetëm me aftësinë e administratës shqiptare, po lidhet njëkohësisht edhe më gjerë me aftësinë e shoqërisë shqiptare dhe këtu dua të veçoj biznesin. A është biznesi shqiptar gati që në 5 vitet e ardhshme të ndryshojë jo vetëm teknologjinë, por mendësinë, metodologjinë? A është gati Shqipëria që ndryshojë modelin ekonomik? Sepse sot kemi një model ekonomik të vjetruar.
Tashmë kemi një president të ri amerikan i cili sapo është zgjedhur, si do të influencojë dhe si do ndikojë ky presidenti Trump pra deri në vitin 2030 në këtë rrugtim të Shqipërisë drejt Bashkimit Evropian.
Çdo administratë amerikane e ka pasur prioritet Ballkanin Perëndimor. E ka pasur prioritet edhe integrimin e Ballkanit Perëndimor, procesin e integrimit. Ne kemi parë një qeverisje të presidentit Trump. Besoj që më e mira është përpara, më e mira në marrëdhënie, më e mira edhe në mbështetje për procesin e integrimit. Unë ndoshta jam shumë idealiste, por gjithmonë mendoj që liria është thelbi i çdo gjëje. Amerika e ka perfeksionuar këtë dhe ka shumë hapësirë që ta bëjë dhe Shqipëria.
What remains to be seen is whether Albania's economy and labor market can align with EU standards quickly enough to retain its emerging talent. Both government leaders and young citizens are eager for a future in the European Union, hoping that by 2030 the country will not only join the EU, but also be prepared to succeed within it. Omer Saraci, Across the Balkans, Tirana.
That's it from us. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.